welcome to the deep dive. So today, you've guided us towards a really intriguing figure, the artist Bob Camblin.
That's right. A bit enigmatic, maybe, but definitely significant.
And we've got quite a collection of sources here, quotes from him, biographical bits, exhibition history, and interpretations of his art.
Yeah, a good mix. The idea is to kind of unpack his artistic philosophy, figure out the threads running through his work.
Right, so our mission is to get a handle on his thinking, the recurring themes.
Exactly, like piecing together a puzzle from the clues he left behind. It's like intellectual detective work, really.
Okay, let's start unpacking. Robert Billieu Camblin, born in Oklahoma, 1928.
Mm-hmm.
His art journey starts Kansas City Art Institute,
Mm-hmm.
then a Fulbright to Italy. That's pretty impressive early on.
Oh, definitely. A Fulbright is a major recognition, shows serious promise right out of the gate.
And then he taught for a while, various universities.
He did. But then, in '76, he makes this big change. Steps away from academia.
Embraces a more, nomadic life, just focused on art.
Yeah, exactly. It says a lot, doesn't it? About maybe needing total freedom, connecting with the world differently than, a university setting allows.
And it seems his work was respected, collected, even while he himself became a bit elusive.
Right. That adds to the whole mystique, the enigma around him.
And looking at what he made, it's incredibly diverse. Oils, acrylics, watercolors.
Drawings, prints, painted paper. He clearly wasn't confined to one medium.
It shows a lot of technical skill, but also maybe a restless exploration.
I think so. A searching spirit, always experimenting, but grounded in solid technique. You can see that.
So let's dive into the core ideas. One thing that really struck me from the sources was this concept of paradox and questioning in his work.
Yes, that's key.
The book review called his drawings paradoxes made visible, even Zen koans disguised as blueprints. That's quite a description.
It really is. It suggests his art isn't about giving easy answers. It's more about making you look, making you think, challenging your usual perception.
Like a Zen koan is meant to sort of bypass logic.
Exactly. To provoke a different kind of understanding, more intuitive. He seems to be doing that visually.
Which leads us nicely into the Zen influence. That seems pretty significant.
Very much so. You see it mentioned quite a bit.
Like the painting Texas, with all the eyes, interpreted as symbolizing awakening, enlightenment.
Right. And connected to the I Ching hexagram 20, Guan, which means contemplation or viewing.
Can you expand on that connection a bit?
Well, the YouTube transcript we looked at suggests those eyes aren't just random. They represent the myriad facets of reality, all the different ways of seeing.
And the calm face in the middle.
That embodies a meditative state, sort of perceiving it all. It ties into that Zen idea of seeing beyond just the physical, grasping the true nature of things.
And the book, Zen and the Art of Enlightenment, using his drawings, its goal is explicitly that. Discovery through art and language.
Precisely. Promoting this idea that enlightenment isn't some far-off goal, but something accessible, maybe even every day.
Texas also seems to touch on interconnectedness, a universal mind.
Yeah, that feeling that everything is linked. Perceiving without attachment or bias.
Like that Alan Watts quote you highlighted. You'll come to understand that you're connected with everything.
It fits perfectly, doesn't it? The multiple eyes in Texas could be seen not as separate observers, but as facets of one single awareness taking everything in.
Moving away from the isolated self towards unity.
Yes, that sense of underlying unity that Watts and many Eastern philosophies talk about, Camblin gives it a visual form.
Another theme that comes up is illusion and impermanence. Change.
Okay.
The review mentions a figure 4 trap representing entanglement or a tattooed arm showing changing history. It feels like flux is central.
Definitely. And the review of the Zen book emphasizes accepting impermanence as liberating, not something to fear.
A reminder that everything changes.
Yeah.
Which is a core Buddhist idea, right?
Absolutely. Clinging to permanence causes suffering. Accepting change brings freedom.
And then we hear Camblin's own voice, seeing the artist as a free agent.
Yeah, not bound by society's expectations.
That quote from '68, do your own thing, it sounds like his personal motto.
It really does, especially when you think about him leaving academia later. He seemed to live by it.
And there's a hint there, maybe, of the artist fighting against conformity.
A subtle suggestion, yeah. What does it mean to be truly free as an artist in a world with its own pressures? It's a good question.
He also talked about intuition versus logic.
Right, that balance, believing versus knowing.
Saying mystics have been somewhere logic can't quite reach. What's he getting at there?
I think he's acknowledging limits to purely rational thought. suggesting there are deeper, maybe experiential ways of understanding. Again, it echoes the Zen value placed on direct insight over analysis.
Tapping into a different kind of knowing
Exactly.
and creativity itself.
Yeah.
He saw it as innate, something
Yeah.
we lose.
Yeah, he mentioned losing our magic and understanding everything instead of knowing.
That's powerful. Over-intellectualizing gets in the way.
And he connected creativity to the play instinct, which implies freedom, experimentation, maybe less self-consciousness.
Just exploring without rigid rules. A good reminder, actually.
It really is. Don't let analysis kill the spark.
His definition of art itself seems pretty fluid. Art is and it isn't.
Huh, yeah. Very Camblin, elusive.
And connecting it directly to life, survival. Art for life's sake. Art for survival's sake.
It grounds it, doesn't it? Strips away some pretense. And he wasn't afraid to critique the art world either.
Right, the focus on shock or quick recognition over real contemplation.
A timeless critique, really. Still relevant today.
It's interesting, though, for someone focused on individual freedom, he also valued collaboration.
That's true. B&E Productions with Staley and Tate.
And sometimes signing work anonymous. That seems contradictory.
Maybe on the surface, but perhaps it shows different facets. He valued his vision, yes, but also saw value in shared creation.
And anonymous. Maybe about downplaying the ego, letting the work speak.
That fits nicely with some of those philosophical ideas, non-attachment and so on. It's possible.
Then there's Muchas Volantes from the 80s. That style with Nancy Giordano.
Ah, yes, the dots and dashes creating optical effects.
Compared to Escher or Dali, really playing with perception.
Exactly. Another way to challenge how we see, make us actively engage, question what we're looking at, ties right back to the core themes.
And those recurring motifs, scarecrows, gloves, machine parts.
Yeah.
Metamorphosis.
They feel loaded with meaning, don't they?
The sources suggest they are. Scarecrows may be symbolizing renewal. Gloves, maybe Freudian interpretations.
Right, representing hidden parts of the self, perhaps. The interesting thing is how they can be read through different lenses. Psychology, literature like Kazantzaki's or Grass, adds layers.
He also used text in his drawings, but not always straightforwardly.
No, sometimes like clues or even disguises.
Questioning how much words should dominate our view of art, like Tom Wolfe's painted word idea.
Precisely. He seems to be playing with that visual versus verbal tension, suggesting art communicates beyond language. The text is another piece of the puzzle.
He even had a take on the art world itself, called it a game.
Yeah, needing common sense, but also faith in your work.
A pragmatic view of the ups and downs.
Which is interesting alongside the deep philosophical stuff. Shows a grounded understanding of the realities of being an artist.
Let's backtrack a bit to his early life. Ponca City, Oklahoma.
Those early influences.
The Marland Estate, the Pioneer Woman statue. Those must have registered visually.
Absolutely. Your early visual environment often forms a foundation. Those symbols of place, history, ambition, they likely fed into his vocabulary.
And references to his mother, Viva, in some works, adds a personal layer.
A deep connection to his roots, yeah, even within abstract work.
And apparently The Wizard of Oz was a big influence. That's unexpected.
Ah, it is. But it speaks to the power of imagination, fantasy.
And then Italy, the Old Masters, but also the Uffizi, the Capuchin catacombs. He called them mummies in his mind. Intense stuff.
That Italian period seems crucial. The contrast between Renaissance beauty and that visceral, macabre imagery from the catacombs.
Fuel for his abstract figures.
You'd think so. Exploring form, symbolism, the human condition. His strong reaction to the mummies tells you how powerful that was.
We should also remember his teaching career. Ringling, Rice University.
Right. And his friend Earl Staley saying Camblin taught him to draw and paint. That's a significant impact.
Teaching often clarifies your own ideas, right? And he clearly influenced other artists.
Definitely underscores his importance, particularly in the Houston scene he was part of for a time.
And then back to that 1976 decision, leaving teaching for the nomadic life.
That extensive travel must have just poured more fuel on the fire?
New cultures, new landscapes.
Yeah.
Feeding that constant exploration.
Without a doubt. Enriching his visual language, providing fresh perspectives.
Later years, he moved to Oregon, then Louisiana with his wife Nancy. Became more reclusive.
Somewhat, it seems. Less visible in the Houston scene.
But the work held its respect. And that comment from his former student Roland, that the art is primarily autobiographical.
That's a really interesting lens. It suggests that beneath the symbols and abstraction, it's deeply personal.
A reflection of his inner world, his journey.
Exactly. And the fact that artists and collectors kept valuing his work speaks volumes about its enduring power.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive on Bob Camblin, it's really clear he defies any simple category.
Absolutely. Embracing paradox, deep philosophical questions, constant experimenting.
His art invites you, compels you, almost to look past the surface, question your own perceptions. It's a personal journey.
Definitely. Those themes we touched on, Zen, impermanence, artistic freedom, text and image, they weave together into this really rich tapestry for contemplation.
Which brings us to a final thought for everyone listening. Camblin saw the art world as a kind of game, and he used hidden meanings. So, what games might you be playing in your own life?
And what hidden messages, what subtle realities might you be overlooking around you?
Maybe taking that moment for quiet contemplation, like really looking at a Camblin piece, could uncover some unexpected insights.
A worthwhile thought.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.